It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back to your Feel Good Breakfast Show. This is Expresso. I mean, 2019 has been an eventful year, but mostly a very difficult year for South Africans, especially women, as we have been faced with daily countless reports of senseless abuse and violence against women and children, to a point of national crisis and epidemic. As the annual and global 16 Days of Activism for No Violence Against Women and Children campaign kicks off today, it is time to reflect on what is being done and what needs to be done to put a stop to this pain and needless loss of life. And we are joined by Dr. Eve.
So nice to meet you, ladies.
It's very nice meeting you too.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So today we are asking, what is the importance of the 16 Days of Activism campaign? And this morning, Dr. Eve is in the building to help us discuss this important topic. And we love to hear your questions and comments as well. So head on over to our Facebook page, drop a comment on this post, and we will engage with you live.
Dr. Eve, it's when we say it has been an epidemic, a national crisis, and we look back and see all that happened in 2019, just a few months ago, it's the harsh reality. But 16 Days of Activism is coming up now, and we wanted to just know when it started and why is it so important for this campaign, or why is this campaign so important?
I don't think it's important anymore. You know, back in the day, I really used to make a point of honouring these 16 days, because today is the first day, which is the International Day of Elimination of Violence Against Women and Children. And then 1 December is World AIDS Day. And then it ends on the 10th of December with Human Rights Day. And when I consider not only this year, but so many years in South Africa, I don't think that 16 Days of Activism really needs to be honoured in any way. We need to be on it every single day, every minute of the day. So it was an initiative that started in 1991, and at that time, it had relevance. It was started by the Women's Global Leadership Initiative in America at Rutgers University. And, you know, in 1991, we in South Africa weren't even talking about violence against women. It was happening, but we weren't talking about it. So it was really powerful when it started. In 94, we picked it up in this country. I used to speak about it a lot. But not really. Is it relevant at all? I think that we as a collective in this country have been totally traumatized by gender-based violence. And we need to be responding to that as a collective. As a collective trauma that has impacted on our entire society. So when we think about collective trauma, we're talking about, at this stage in our history, intergenerational trauma. We're talking about ancestral trauma, because it isn't just your generation or my generation. It kind of goes back generations. And then what happens when we have a situation like this year, where there have been very significant events which has polarized the whole country, we get triggered. And we all feel the accumulation of all of the memory of trauma that we've all suffered for generations, and it comes crashing down upon us. And then we all throw up our hands and say, we've got to do something, we've got to do something. And the government and the president says, yeah, we're going to do something. But actually, has anything changed in day to day?
Yeah. I mean, I absolutely understand why you say it should be something that is made aware of every single day. It shouldn't be an event, but a lifestyle. But at the end of the day, it does set as a reminder. I think that's the most significant part of 16 Days of Activism, that, hey, listen, this is still a reality. So what are you doing about it? Do you not think that it's significant in that sense?
No.
Wow.
Sorry, I have to disagree with you. You know, I was out of the country for a week, and I was at a conference in Barcelona, and I come back and I put on the news, and every single news story is about another murder or rape of a woman or a child in our country. You don't hear it anywhere else in the world. So we are reminded of it every single day. I think what we need to do is to build a narrative into our discourse in our families every single day. That's what needs to change. It's not going to be the big events that are going to make it. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe our viewers have got a different argument to me, and I really invite them to put it onto Facebook and take me on, and to say, you know, disagree. We think we still need to be having 16 Days of Activism. What are you doing about it? I'm more interested in what are you doing every day
as
in your
opposed to
life.
just in the 16 days.
Yeah.
Indeed.
No, absolutely.
Indeed.
We do need to have this conversation, and we do invite everyone at home to
Yeah.
just connect with us on social media. If you feel that Dr. Eve is not saying what you want to say, challenge her.
Yeah.
Put it out there, and we
Good.
really want to hear from you with regards to the 16 days of activism.
It's my feel good breakfast show.
Welcome back to your Feel Good Breakfast Show. It's Expresso and it's a Monday. And today we are using our relationships chat as an opportunity to have vital conversations about the importance of the 16 days of activism or no violence against women and children, both in South Africa and across the globe. We'd love to hear from your questions and comments. So head on over to Facebook, drop a comment on this post and we will engage with you. Now, before the break, we were talking to Dr. Eve about the importance of 16 days of activism, and right now we're continuing that conversation.
Yeah.
Dr. Eve, you know, like you were saying, it has been a very traumatic year for South Africa, you know, with what happened to Nene, Jesse Stevens, and also that hashtag Am I Next?
Yeah,
that was so
frightening,
important.
frightening hashtag.
What do you think something like this does to a community or to, you know, to women in constant living in fear? What do you think the impacts of that is to the women?
So that's what we call collective trauma. It's an event, a catastrophic event that shatters the very fabric of society. And I think the catastrophic event that happened were some of the women that you mentioned that mobilized, as I said earlier, mobilized people onto the streets and said, we just are so traumatized. Because one way to heal collective trauma, you know, there are ways to heal. We need to heal collectively and we need to heal individually. So one way to heal collective trauma, which South Africa is really good at, is by communities and people gathering and singing and dancing and drumming.
Yeah.
That really makes it, from a neurological perspective, in terms of trauma to the brain, it really works to find a quiet space for people.
Yeah.
And South Africans really do, especially the women, find a wonderful way of being able to collectively heal themselves through this enormous trauma that we sit with all the time.
Yeah.
So I think it's important that we keep on doing that, because we cannot depend on changing the justice system, changing the police, or changing the government.
Yeah.
There are laws in place to protect women. But hey, you know, you're at home, you're getting abused at home, and that's where the change needs to come from.
Yeah.
From the men, not from telling women what to do or getting women to behave differently, but working specifically on the gender of males. And it's about being totally conscious in your own home of changing the narrative. Because what happens is that perpetrators, who are usually men, they deny, they minimize the situation of what their actions have done. And in doing that, they transform the memory of the event. They gaslight women. And in that, they change the narrative of history. Unless they take responsibility and do a TRC, a Truth and Reconciliation, with women, with society as a whole. And there is a movement, there are many movements where men do gather, and men are taught how to move from toxic masculinity into a place of more healthy masculinity and equity in our society, because that's one of the major things that are needed in our society, is for masculinity to be revisited.
And I love what you just said now, because we posed a question on social media. What is the importance of the 16 days of activism or no violence against women and children? And we received 2 responses, one from a man, and he says, my question is, why not every day? I am not convinced that we have seen any significant changes to the rhetoric nor statistics because of 16 out of 365 days of focus. Focus should be every minute of every day until we get this monster under control. So that is what he is suggesting, and I truly agree with him. It's exactly what you said earlier on. And this comment from Carol Ann Basson, it should be no violence, period, not just 16 days of activism. But also, Dr. Eve, I mean, earlier on you said that it's lost its impact or its significance. But then with the hashtags such as like, am I next? And you're talking about the collective experience and collective trauma, would you not then say it provides a platform for women to come together?
No.
This movement.
I'm still not convinced about that.
Yeah.
I still feel that every single day people need to have an awareness, but not just through the terror of hearing the news and hearing of more women being beaten, raped, incested, murdered, children being raped and murdered.
Yeah.
I think it needs to be a conscious awareness in the schools, that's part of the educational system, that's part of the curriculum, that there needs to be gender taught in schools, and masculinity needs to be discussed in schools and in homes and in places where men gather, and it is happening. I'm not saying that it's not happening. There is an awareness in our country that that needs to be happening. So I think that on a daily basis, if every single person can be holding somebody accountable, whether it's a colleague that you hear them talking badly to a woman, putting down a woman, whether it is a parent to a child, whether it is a lover to another lover, wherever you are feeling that there is any kind of violence, any kind of non-consensual behavior from men towards women, we need to speak to that. And in that way, we bring about small changes which are going to have a collective change in our lives. So I'm really hoping that this, if anything, these days can get people to just begin conversations in their homes.
Absolutely. It is a conversation that we all need to have.
Yes.
But thank you so much for coming in here and just, you know, giving a bit of voice and a bit of like what you feel like should be happening now in society. Now, of course, in recent years, the voices of survivors and activists to campaigns such as Am I Next, the Me Too movement, Time's Up, and countless others have put the spotlight on the issue of sexual violence and have reached a crescendo that cannot be silenced or ignored any longer. Now we are calling on everyone from all walks of life to learn more and to take a stand around the pervasive culture of rape and abuse that surrounds us.